Hello, good morning, getting to afternoon now. It's been a late start because I finished very late. Actually, shall I tell you how the day went yesterday? Um, Also, I've ordered a coffee, which I got. I'm in Kiev, by the way. And I've ordered a Napoleon. Don't know what it is, but we'll soon find out. Even before all that, let me show you where I am. This is, can you see the green, the water? That it is the water. It's about 20 minutes away from Kiev, and it was a hotel that my paper AS got, so I'm sharing with the photographer. The room photographer's left this morning, so I think I've got the place for myself because I'm not coming back actually to Barcelona until Tuesday because the flights were too expensive. Anyway, that's my tribulations. But let me tell you about last night because it was yesterday really a typical pre-game Champions League day. Hold on, I'm going to sort this out as well. It's a bit better. Just place this better. Be patient with me. There you are. A bit like that. So, in these days, it's not surprising to just go to a restaurant, meet somebody, and then, of course, as you may have been talking to him during the year on the phone, or you haven't come across him, it's a chance to have a good conversation. And how did it all start? So I went in the morning. I had a meeting with an agent, and the agent was sitting with Roberto Carlos, who I know, and we met different times. In fact, we had a fantastic chat for Umbro about that goal in against France that made him famous internationally, and that was when he was sponsored by Umbro. Anyway, it was a good chat. It was, of course, about the Champions League and a lot of other things. Because just recently in the interview with Klopp, I actually mentioned him and the fact that his dad did not tell him "well done," the same as Klopp's dad, and we had some more chat about that. In the table next to us, it was Florentino Perez and Jose Angel Sanchez, the number 1 and 2 at Real Madrid. They were polite, and they left a question mark about what could happen tonight. So none of that arrogance that people are talking about. Liverpool is a good team, is a strong team. That's what they said. And as they were sitting to have lunch and having said hello to us, Arbeloa walks in. This is at the top of perhaps the best hotel in Kiev. There's a restaurant at the top. And big hug to Arbeloa, of course, and he's working for Real Madrid and for some media as well. So it was a good chance to catch up with him. Let me just put some milk to the coffee. So after that, I actually went to meet Kathy, who's a female Liverpool fan who's preparing a massive but fascinating project of telling the story of Liverpool Football Club via the voices of women throughout their history. From secretaries to apparently in the Museum of Liverpool there is a season ticket for Mrs. Smith, and she wants to find out who she is. And also it has the same price as kids. So kids and women in, I think this is from the 20s, had the same price tickets. Anyway, there's so many stories that she was telling me from herself as well, and her trips and how she made it to Kiev. It was really inspiring, and I hope I can help a little bit with that. Then after that, Napoleon. I'll show you what it is. Is it apple? Is it apple? Apple. It's apple. So there you go. I'll have a bit of that for breakfast. I was late for breakfast, so it'll have to be that or nothing. What else did I do? So, John Aldridge, I crossed paths with on the way to the training, to the stadium, and of course just before the press conferences. Then I had to rush to do BBC, where I met Mark Lawrenson, always funny and interesting, and Jim Murray, Chris Waddle, and Kelly Cates, of course, presenting. Then coming out of that, I went for dinner with Marcotti and Raphael Honigstein, which is always a good show and a good conversation in a mid place. And there we met Christian Perslow. You must remember him from his times at Liverpool. He's in a sabbatical. He's just been in Portugal for 6 months. Am I forgetting anybody? Well, at the end, so we had dinner, and then it takes me a while to get a taxi. I couldn't find cash, and taxis are with cash. I was trying with Uber, but I couldn't find the network for the right network, so I couldn't ring an Uber. And it was in the middle of this noisy part of Kiev, and this is about 3 o'clock in the morning. And then who walks past? But Gaizka Mendieta. Gaizka Mendieta says, Guillem Balaguer, he says. And I said, I'm trying to get home, but anyway, he says, I've got a friend of mine here, he'll sort you out. And they sorted me out, they got me a taxi, and I got home. I'm not forgetting anybody else, am I, from yesterday? Anyway, that was a typical day in Kiev. Not so much in Kiev, a typical day just before a Champions League final. There's so many people around, and I probably will come across some of them today. I'll be heading to town very soon. But before all this long introduction, I wanted to tell you what I think about the Champions League final. Starting with the fact that there's a lot of coin in the air in this final. There's a lot of errors will define the final in my eyes. Errors that can be, especially in the build-up. Real Madrid will not want to play long. They will want to build from the back. And especially in the Marcelo area, he has lost possession many times there, and I'm sure he will be targeted. Liverpool will have to go for it from the beginning on the forefront and expect those mistakes. The problem is Real Madrid also feeds from those mistakes and will try to force the midfield of Real Madrid into mistakes, which the pace of Bale or Benzema, more on that later, and Cristiano Ronaldo, Isco as well, could actually kill them. So mistakes are going to be absolutely crucial. The team that does less will probably succeed. But also there is the fact that Liverpool, quite clearly, there's a pattern this season. There's a pattern also to Borussia Dortmund's when Klopp was there, of bursts of energy and intensity, which Real Madrid will struggle to cope with. No doubt about that. In fact, in the Roma-Real Madrid, in which Salah was with Roma, both Marcelo and Sergio Ramos struggled in both games against Salah. He didn't finish well that game. He could have just scored a hat-trick, he didn't, but he made it really difficult for Real Madrid. That will happen, and at that point, when that happens, Liverpool has to take advantage of it, because next will be Real Madrid adjusting to the game and controlling the game, and then we're talking about a Real Madrid that's comfortable in those situations. Will force Liverpool further back, and they may find, as they do so often, chances, space, opportunities based on the individual quality of the players. That's how I see the game. There will be those moments where Liverpool, perhaps at the beginning of both halves, they will try to take the game on the forefront. The type of pressure that is brave, but it is so it works so well if Real Madrid are able to beat that pressure. Danger, but if they not, that's where the chance of Liverpool will be. There are, as we know, weaknesses in both sides, and I know that Trent Alexander-Arnold has been praised, and rightly so, for his developing this season. He was already, the third centre-back, wasn't he, at the beginning of the season. Now he's going to the World Cup. But Real Madrid have identified that as a weakness, and Robertson as well. The full-backs, they think that if they create superiority in those parts of the pitch, especially if Mane or Salah don't track back, then that's where the game can be won. But interestingly enough, it feels like Real Madrid are going to go with a diamond-shape midfield with Isco in front of Casemiro, Modric, Kroos. And that kind of, in one way, helps the pressure of Liverpool, because they probably would be more narrow than if they had Lucas Vázquez as Marco Asensio, and won't fully benefit from the fact that they identify that weakness than the wings. Because, yes, a lot will go through the centre. Isco will go wide, of course. So will sometimes a little bit cross. The fullbacks will push on. There'll be all that, but they won't go to attack down the wings in the way that they did against PSG, the second leg, for instance, when Marco Asensio and Lucas Vázquez started, and it killed PSG, who couldn't deal with that. Also, it must be more difficult for Liverpool if actually you had the likes of Marco Asensio and Lucas Vázquez playing wide alongside the fullbacks, because it's more difficult to pressure. But I feel that it will be a diamond-shaped formation for Real Madrid with two forwards. And the debate is Benzema or Bale. Both of them have got a lot in their favour, of course. Benzema links up very well with Cristiano and with the midfield. Zidane has been defending him even though he hasn't been scoring regularly. And it is an important part of the game if of course, Real Madrid for long periods have to control the game. It's very good on the counter as well. Bale is more direct. Bale doesn't need so many short passes to make an impact in the game, and he will just stretch the game. That will be, it's almost like a philosophical question here. You are the coach of Real Madrid. Do you go for it? Do you go on the forefront against Liverpool, see who scores more, kind of thing? Then you go for Bale. If it's about, all right, the game will have different phases, and perhaps we need a striker that can almost play as a 10 or as a midfielder, then it will be Benzema. So we will see. But that's how I see the game, one in which the intensity of Liverpool can be absolutely crucial, but only if they take advantage of it when it takes place. But one in which Real Madrid, surprisingly, even though their average age is 29 for 23 of Liverpool, surprisingly they finish the games really, really well. In fact, I saw a stat which was a bit shocking. Cristiano Ronaldo in the second halves in the Champions League run 30% more than Salah and Mane. And that's partly because Salah and Mane choose perhaps when they do their efforts, and a lot of it comes in the first half. But Cristiano Ronaldo also chooses their efforts to leave it all more towards the end. And you cannot doubt the intelligence of Cristiano Ronaldo in these circumstances. A Cristiano Ronaldo who hasn't been the focus of attention, but of course has been crucial in big games now for a while. Scored 2 against Juventus, scored a crucial penalty against Atletico Madrid, and so on. Didn't score against Bayern in the semi-finals, but he is a player that depends on the service now, because he's a striker, a one-touch striker, but one that will look to run or to be close to Lovren more often than to Van Dijk. You will see. That means as well that when Marcelo has the ball in that one wing, or Isco, they will try to put the ball close to Lovren, not so much to Van Dijk. Check that. So, Bale or Benzema? We will see. I don't know what you think. I'd like to hear what you think. I've got the impression that Bale has done enough in the last few months with 5 goals in 20 days. But Zidane really likes Benzema. So, I'm sitting on the fence on that one. What else can I tell you? I know there's going to be some legends of Real Madrid in the city centre of Kiev, so I may just go to that. But it's going to be pretty busy for me from now on. After this, I had to go and collect some of the accreditations that would allow me to get into the mix zone. I have to go to 5 Live, Viasat of Norway as well. I'll have to write for the newspaper, and I'll give you a YouTube Live if everything works well, and I'm not needed just after the game. When it's all finished, when it's all over, I'll give you my impressions, first impressions just after the game, and see what you think. Meanwhile, remember, if you had the time, as a preview of the final, you could watch the interview with Rafa Benitez. I really enjoyed talking to him. There's been a while where I wanted you to hear him, the way he speaks about his family, about his passion, and about coaching, about Newcastle, about Liverpool, Istanbul, all that. And of course, there's still the interview of Klopp, if you haven't seen it. It's shorter, still 30-odd minutes, and I hope you enjoy it. If you do, like it, tell your friends and family, subscribe. I am enjoying very much being part of this project, and there is more things that we're planning, so keep an eye on it. Enjoy Kiev. In a way, when you're working in a final, of course, it's the beauty of being in the game. But I know there's a big party being prepared in Liverpool. I hope it ends well. And that's about it. So, talk to you soon and enjoy the day and the final.